Welcome back to N.Cast. I'm Prince Ayo, and today I have a special guest. Please introduce yourself.
My name is Etai Gamliel, Doctor of Physical Therapy and Strength and Conditioning Coach at Evolutionary Guide Method, or other known as EG Method.
Hey, there you go. Dr. Etai Gamliel.
I know, it's weird, you know. I feel like half the time when you talk to like a doctor, especially like in hospitals, they're like all stuck up. So
yeah, you feel like you connect with people. I feel like you do.
Right, professionally, you know, to get people's like attention, especially as like a physical therapist, you have to say I'm Doctor So and So, because for the most part, I feel like the physical therapy realm, some people don't even know that you get your doctorate in physical therapy. So you have to you know, at least establish that idea of, you know, this is who I am, you know, and especially when you're younger, you do have to introduce yourself in a certain way so that you get a little bit of that, you know, buy-in from the client. But other than that, you know, especially when it comes to like my clients and like they'll work with me, I'll be like, just call me Etai, you know, at some point, because they're like, you know.
So usually in the medical field, like I know like certain doctors specialize in like certain areas, but like in physical therapy, I'm not as like understanding of it. So I guess like, do you specialize in like certain areas like mobility or like strength conditioning, or is that all together?
Right. So when in the medical field, right, you have to do your residency and you have to specialize in something, right? It's already assumed, right, once you get your MD, that you're going to do your residency somewhere. You're going to go to, you know, gastroenterology, or you're going to do like sports med. You're going to do something, right? In PT, it's like you more or less, like you get your degree.
Okay.
You can decide to go to pediatrics. You know, they set you up with enough information that you will not kill somebody, essentially.
Okay. All right.
Right? Because
the foundation, right?
Right. They prepare. It's just like any other school. Like they prepare you for a test. They're really not preparing you for life, like as that professional. It's really up to you, and the onus is on you as the professional to educate yourself on the direction you want to go. So yes, there are residency programs for geriatrics, for orthopedics, for sports, for pediatrics. You don't have to take those residencies though. But when you start your career, you will go into, you know, either the hospital setting. Most people go to like the outpatient setting, where that's where like most people of us see like.
Yeah, I've actually been to an outpatient.
Right.
I broke my ankle before, but we'll get into that. But keep going.
Right. So then you can do geriatrics, and then like for me, and this one's like kind of like a niche that you really have to work hard to get into, is you're working in the more like the sports performance realm, more or less so I've got you from rehab, and I'm getting you all the way to where you're going to start performing again. You already experienced outpatient, right? So you already experienced the idea of, okay, so here's a script. Your script's for, 2 months, right?
Right.
But I got a broken ankle. All right. So after 2 months, they say, you know what, Prince? You're good to go. And you're kind of looking at them like, I'm not good to go.
But like, they also like gave me like a script after, so I didn't have to keep going, but they wanted me to keep like doing stuff on my own.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
But, like I wasn't good to go, like run all fully and all that stuff.
But you know, as a person who trains, right?
Yeah.
There's something called, you know, overload principle, right?
Okay.
You have to manipulate the body in a certain way so that you keep building muscle and you're not plateauing. I can tell you to do 3 things every day and do them for 4 weeks or something like that, but at the end of the day, it's not going to prepare you to get your muscles and your body ready for performance. It might alleviate the pain for a certain period of time, but you really have to give somebody a structured periodization plan custom to them over the long haul to get them from I'm rehabbing you, now I'm training you, now you're performing. And that's where I found my niche. I'm more in that, like, you know, rehab, sports performance, right in the middle there. So right after your rehab, I'm the kind of person that you would go to and be like, all right, I don't really feel 100%. I need to get ready. How do I get ready? I would say, all right, well, we got to look at everything, right? If it's your ankle, we're not just going to look at your ankle. We're going to look at the whole body, right? Because the nervous system works in a very interesting way. If you have a problem with your ankle, you may have some protective mechanisms. I promise you, an outpatient, they did not look at that. They looked at your ankle, and guess what? There's 2 other people walking through the door right when you come in. So those people are busy. They don't have time to look at you full body. They don't have time to be looking at, okay, this is compensating. Is
that because they're only assigned to look at my ankle? It's not because like
it's their hands are tied behind their back. Okay. In school you're taught the right way. They're like, okay, like, you know, you're gonna look at the whole, like, maybe not all programs. All programs are different.
Yeah.
But you know, they're like, yeah, you're gonna have time to do this. You're gonna have time to do that. In the real world, just like everyone else, like we're all overworking. We're all working hard, and you realize, like, man, there probably should be 2 people doing this job instead of 1, right? So when you're working in an outpatient setting, it's more about quantity, money, monetization, westernized, right? Westernized type of medicine, than being like, all right, let me look at this ankle, let me look at the, you know, his whole movement pattern, let me see what's firing, what's not firing. Oh, okay, I see when he sprints, right, his right glute isn't activating because he's a little timid about pushing off that right ankle. Oh, so yeah, so he has a little bit of back pain too related to that as well, right? So it's all connected. So I wanted to be able to, maybe his ankle's feeling good, maybe his range of motion is good, but he's not ready to perform, you know. And there's trainers out there that don't necessarily, you know, understand, you know, the rehab side of it, and then there's also, you know, trainers who, to be honest, they don't really understand periodization. They don't understand, you know, overload principle to the point where, you know, you're getting someone to actually get them to performance. You know, I think, you know, Instagram has us a lot of times looking at, you know, hit circuits,
short format, like quick
workouts. Stuff. Let's get you to lose weight in 6 weeks, blah blah. So a lot of people have popularized, you know, hit and, you know, weight loss and things of that nature. But there are trainers who know just as much as, you know, I do when it comes to like periodization, but I would say from the rehab perspective, from the biomechanics perspective, there's a lot of things that I know as a physical therapist that I think makes what I do from bridging the rehab gap to the performance gap something that it you know, for me, you know, it makes it, I feel like I have like a responsibility to at least, you know, teach people about it, because there's a lot of things in outpatient that they don't have time to teach people. And, you know, you got a lot of people that will, you know, I had a lot of patients that will teach me, that will say like, you know, like, I didn't know that, or like, man, I didn't know that affects it, or I didn't know that like my glute has anything to do with my foot, you know, or anything like that. So just to like educate people about their own bodies and, you know, be able to, you know, at least give them the tools to heal themselves. That's really what I want to do. I want to give you the tools to heal yourself, and that's what the program is, right? Yeah. So if I give you that program, you know, yeah, sure, we might have to adjust it depending on, you know, when you check in with me and you say, okay, well, I feel a little bit tired this week. Okay, maybe we'll adjust the volume and things of that nature. But overall, it's customized to you, but you're also learning about your body so that in the future you can say, okay, I understand this is a whole body thing. It's not just my ankle. My ankle isn't the one that's limiting me. Maybe
let's give it a little bit more context, though. Right. So, like, you're mentioning the program. Before the podcast, you sent me some documents called the EG program, I guess. So, what
program
exactly?
Overview.
Yeah, overview. Yeah. So, what exactly is that program?
So, all-encompassing, right? We're looking at someone who is looking for you to look at, you know, their compensation patterns, see where they are, and on top of that, going just from a perspective of not just looking at you from a physical perspective, but also building you up from a mental perspective and from a nutritional perspective, right? Okay. So it's an all-encompassing service that I'm trying to provide people, and it's up to them, right? If they don't want to do, you know, there's parts of it where we already talked about the training, right? Right. But there's parts of it where, you know, if you want to learn about meditation, if you want to learn about,
which
is
very important. Breathing is very important when you're doing a lot of performance stuff. Right. Performance and mobility all together. So,
I mean, to be honest, like anxiety, nervous energy, that will stop you from being mobile. That will stop you from sleeping, recovering. That will, get your cortisol up. Stress, and especially nowadays, right? We're probably in the most stressful period of all of our lives. And when you go to these outpatient settings, they don't have time to talk to you about stress, or even time to talk to you in general about life.
Or come near you.
or come near you. You know what I mean? Like I truly care about the quality, not the quantity. So I'm not looking to try to overbook or anything like that. I really want to have conversations with anybody who's willing to have the conversation. If they're feeling stressed that day, I give them meditations. Okay. I give them stuff that we can walk through. I posted something on my Instagram about my client in the morning, and I had to meditate, and he was like, I've never held my breath for that long. He's like, 2 minutes? How did I hold my breath for 2 minutes? I showed him essentially Wim Hof has popularized this breathing pattern.
What's Wim Hof? I don't even know what that is.
So it's pretty much popularizing a certain breath technique where he essentially takes approximately 30 deep breaths. And within that 30 deep breaths, what you're doing is you're oversaturating your body with oxygen, right? Then you do a breath retention. So through the breath retention, your body's learning to utilize that oxygen that's in your body to be more sufficient. And you're actually training your immune system, increasing, dopamine levels. So there's a lot of benefits to that breathing pattern that he has essentially, he didn't create it, but he popularized it.
Okay.
And then on top of that, he also believes in cold exposure. So cold exposure has shown to actually, increase dopamine, improve your immune system reaction, improve your vascular system.
Isn't there popularized I think it's I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but it's crypto chamber or cycle chamber where people go into a
cryotherapy.
Cryotherapy, yes, that's what it's called. And people go in a chamber and they put cold spray or something on their body. I don't know exactly what it is. Maybe you can.
Yeah, it's very similar to cryotherapy. So essentially, we have these inflammatory markers that occur when we work out.
Okay.
And LeBron does it. He does
he spends $1 million on his body.
He spends $1 million on his body. So he does a form of cryotherapy where it reduces his overall inflammation, and you can do it in your house. Wim Hof says take a cold shower every day. Every day. And it doesn't have to be that cold, 40 degrees Fahrenheit.
Does it have to be certain minutes? How many
yeah,
minutes?
At least 2 minutes.
Okay.
And by doing so, you're going to be improving your immunity, you're going to be reducing your anxiety, and also reducing your overall inflammation. And this is all, so I have documents, and I have studies, and I have, citations in my documents where I can send this information to people.
Yeah.
I had a client who was a U.S. Marshal. Well, he is a U.S. Marshal now, but he was in boot camp.
Okay.
And so essentially when they're in boot camp, they do all these crazy things. They make you, literally carry one of those light poles that you see, on the highway.
Okay.
They all have to hold it together, and they run 10 miles with it.
Wow.
No joke. Then the next day, they'll have you go through self-defense training, which all it is really they have you lying on the floor, and they just beat the shit out of you.
I mean, it's defend yourself.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Yeah.
And so pretty much everybody else who's in boot camp, because I think they have other agencies doing boot camps, but by far the U.S. Marshals are the craziest ones.
Not Navy SEALs.
I think
David Goggins would have a rebuttal for that.
Well, I think it's on the level. I'm not even gonna lie.
Yeah.
Because my brother has done SEALs training, and he said my brother was a Navy veteran. So
oh, wow.
So he's done that sort of training, and he said it's there. It's there.
I heard people it's a week or two, and I heard people can't make it through day 3 of that training.
Yeah, no, people were dropping like flies.
They'll have 100 people enrolled, and only 15 make it out, or maybe less than that, or something like that.
Yeah. My brother was one of those 3.
Really?
Yeah. So anyway, he sends me, he sends me a text, right? And, one of my brothers, obviously one of my clients, but he sends me a text. And he's like, he shows me like this huge, I could show you the text right now, but he shows me this huge bruise on the back of his leg. And he's like, I can't even walk. What do I do? He's like, I have to run 10 miles tomorrow.
Was that like during training or?
This is during boot camp.
Okay.
He graduated, so shout out to my brother for becoming a U.S. Marshal. But, and I was like, first of all, I was like, why are you texting me? He's like, I'm like, when you got to be ready? He's like, I got to be ready by 6 a.m. I'm like, you call me at 8 p.m. This is impossible. But what I did do is I said, oh, what are you doing right now? He's like, I'm taking a warm bath. I said, you know what you got to do right now? He said, what? I said, you got to drain the shit out of that. I don't know if you can say shit here, but
no, don't worry about it. Keep going.
Okay.
It's a podcast. You can say what you want. Our rules.
Right. So anyway, I was like, you got to drain that shit. You got to put ice water in it. He's like, ice water? He's like, hell no. I said, do you want to listen? I was like, I'm your brother. Do you want to listen to me or do you not want to listen? I don't have to give you this advice. This is free.
Right.
And he's like, no, Etai, like, I need your help. I'm like, all right, then drain that hot water. Don't be a bitch. Get into that cold water and fucking stay there for 15 minutes.
Right.
And don't leave until I tell you to. He's like, okay. So he goes into the cold water. Next day, texts me. And I posted this on my Instagram. I posted the whole conversation. Just so maybe I got like 10 likes or something. But
you're building a portfolio.
Right, exactly. So anyway, he was like, thank you so much. Like you saved me, he was away from his family for 2 months for this boot camp. It was in Georgia, and they live in Virginia. So he's away from his kids, he's away from his wife, and his wife was like, you better not come back until you pass that boot camp. Like if you're gonna be gone for this long,
you might as well pass it.
Yeah, you might as well. You might as well pass it, baby.
Yeah.
And so he's like on full edge. He's like, I don't know what to do. And he texted me. He's like, all right, I feel better. He's like, that was amazing. Like, how did you know to do that? And I was like,
well, you study it, right?
Yeah, I study it. My brother thinks I'm still his little brother, but at the same time, when you go to outpatient, they don't. First of all, you can't give somebody a phone call, like well, I also don't take phone calls at 8 p.m. But unless it's my brother. But you know what I mean. Like I do take private text messages, and people are like worried about their recovery. I will give them recovery techniques, not only cryotherapy, but I will give them ways to reduce their inflammation via like the pamphlet that I do give you. To kind of, keep everything in check as we're recovering. So when you're training, you're also recovering as fast as you can so that the gains are, expedited. So then, he had a few other, run-ins where like they kicked his ribs and he couldn't even like
breathe.
Well, he had to do 36 sit-ups the next day. And so he said, all right, Etai, I'm going into the cold bath. He already knew what the deal was. And then like he sent me a text, 2 days later. And he was like, honestly, cold baths are like my thing now.
So, little context, we both went to the same high school and played football. After practice, do you ever take cold baths in high school and stuff like that?
Oh man, in high school, man, I felt so good. I didn't have to do. I wasn't even thinking about that.
Okay.
It really, for me, it really happened when. I think when my stress kicked up in college.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
It's the same for me too.
Right.
College. That's why I started taking cold baths. Especially because when I transferred from football to rugby, you get bit up on the rugby field, and I would have inflammation all over my body.
Right.
But then I just started taking more and more ice baths, and there was also a physical therapist or he was studying it on the team, and he would tell me you should switch from warm baths to hot.
Yeah, hot cold contrast.
Yeah. And he was telling me a little bit about that. So do you know a little bit information about that?
So
how that helps with inflammation?
Yeah, I mean studies show that the hot cold contrast there's a very minimal difference between taking an ice bath and doing hot cold contrast. Now, to be honest with you, anecdotally there's so much and there's so many different factors that affect these studies when it comes to the human body, because not every body is the same, right?
Correct.
I feel like sometimes some people would do better with cold, and some people would do better with hot-cold contrast. That's just how I think about it. You know, it's just like diets.
Depends on the individual.
It's just like diets. You know, some people are, you know, gluten-free, and some people, like we talked about nutrition before, you know, the podcast, but like so many people will just like have different, you know, genetic makeups that not every, you know, fad diet's going to work for everybody. So like my nutrition for people is, you know, I give them the layout of the land. What's clean, what isn't, what's going to increase your inflammation, what's going to keep your inflammation good, and what's healthy, right? Essentially, if you eat healthy, there's no way, and you're exercising, there's no way you're going to overeat. You can't, I mean, you're going to feel full after eating like lean chicken and, you know, having some rice and having some salad. Like no one's going to overeat lean chicken, rice, and salad. You know, you can overeat.
Yeah.
Checkers fries. You can overeat that. And so
a lot of carbs.
Yeah, you can always overeat carbs. So, you know, at the end of the day, as long as you just like eat within a healthy realm, that's what's going to keep you healthy for the long term. There's no fad that, I don't care what it is. I don't care what diet you think is the best. There's no way you're going to keep it up for the rest of your life.
Yeah, no way. Especially vegans.
I tried that, yeah.
There's nothing wrong with like people being vegan. It's just how like they try to push it onto others to be vegan and like bully people into being vegan. It's like it's a conscious decision for that person. Like you shouldn't always have to push that diet to someone. Just like you said, everybody has different nutritions, different ways of digesting food. Like
yeah, I mean
it doesn't work for everybody. It's not one fit all.
Yeah, I would say you know, like what's the one thing vegans will always say to you? Like they'd be like I can't believe you eat meat, right?
Meat eater, you meat lover. Like what? It's kind of disturbing. But I also believe that it's kind of okay. Well, at least for me, like sometimes I starve myself for like 6 hours. So that's 6 hours. I feel like the body doesn't always need food.
Correct.
Especially when I'm working, I'm just like I don't need food constantly. But then like sometimes I get scared because like maybe I'll overeat because I starve myself 6 hours. You know what I mean?
No. So it's actually so like if you hydrate.
Yeah, I do drink a lot of water.
It's actually like it's actually healthy to fast for like 12 hours.
Really?
Like once a week. It's healthy to fast for like 12 hours.
But like not like consistently, but like at least like once a week.
Oh yeah, once a week. If you eat from Monday to Saturday, and then from Saturday at like 6 p.m., you don't decide to like eat till, you know, Sunday
night, I guess.
Sunday night, yeah, that's totally fine. And that's actually healthy because that lets your GI system actually like rid itself of everything. Like, you know, when you fast, you still go to the bathroom.
Just for context, what's the GI system?
Gastrointestinal system. So your large intestine, small intestine. That's where everything's kind of like going through. Obviously, your stomach's like, you know, processing it, and then everything is going down there.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I didn't know that, but like I always had a conscious decision because like my mom, she's an immigrant. She grew up in Nigeria, and she said she never had breakfast. Like she would always wait till lunch and dinner. When I was growing up, and I was like, why? Like, because like growing up in America, it's like you have breakfast, lunch, dinner. Sometimes you have snacks in between, constantly eating. She's like, we didn't feel like it was necessary. Like breakfast is not always necessary. You don't need to have coffee with a muffin or bagel or donut. Like
I would say like with breakfast, it really depends. You don't need a heavy breakfast.
Okay.
It needs to be for breakfast. It needs to be easily digestible. It's like something like a smoothie
or protein shake. Or something
protein shake, something like that. Like that's like perfect for like breakfast. But let's just say you ignore breakfast, but then you don't fuel yourself enough during lunch and dinner. That's not good either, especially when you're training.
Okay, right.
Right. So you do need to make sure that you're fueling yourself enough. But like, if you drink water and you have a large lunch, I don't see a problem with that.
Right. But like, it's also
most people will. I mean, obviously, there's gonna be some people that would be like, you know.
I was gonna say.
There's gonna be a lot of like people that would disagree with that, but
I was gonna say because like bodybuilders, they eat probably like 6 times a day, right? But there's like small proportional meals. Like it'll be like chicken rice or like salmon rice, or vegetables with all those meals. And
Right.
like,
But also
it's constantly keep fueling themselves.
Right.
Why?
Well, yeah, they need to constantly fuel themselves to like keep producing the amount of muscle that they need to produce.
Right.
But also, there's a reason why bodybuilders like joints are like done after certain period of time. You're not really meant to absorb that much food and that much animal protein, because protein, I mean, a lot of times vegans will say like it's so unhealthy, it produces inflammation. At the end of the day, like, being so stressed that I'm gonna try to be vegan is more inflammatory than me eating a burger.
Yeah.
But the amount of meat that a bodybuilder has to consume is I mean, at that point, plus the amount of like wear and tear they're putting on their bodies, like that's creating a good amount of inflammation for sure.
Okay. So in the program overview, and I was just like skimming through it, like I guess like it really touches on, like you already said, meditation, but it also touched on like strength conditioning, I guess, and then also mobility.
Yes.
So I guess if you want to like highlight a little bit of those two, because those are like the three key elements I took from that overview. If you want to just like highlight on the strength mobility aspect of it and why it's like so important for the EG method.
Yeah. So essentially, everybody's gonna have their own faults, right? I mean, I do have baseline programs where I'll say, okay, I'm going to build it off of this. But from there, I already know your faults from your evaluation, so then I'm going to tailor it towards your faults, right? And we're going to build you up from there. So from a strength and conditioning standpoint, your pain or your deficits are going to be addressed, customized to you, right? So when I talk about strength and conditioning, that's what we're talking about from, that rehab to performance realm. And then if like, let's just say you're a boxer,
right,
at that point, if you're on a 12-week program, I have no problem referring you to one of my friends who trains boxers, right? I mean, I don't I know how to train you for the long haul too. Like if you wanted to just keep training, we could do that. But at the same time, I also want to do what's best for the client too.
Person,
right. So if you want to get back to boxing, then obviously I'm gonna send you over to my clients and my contacts that would be tailored to that, right? From the mobility standpoint, again, that's also tailored towards your faults, right? So if you're missing hip flexor mobility, if you're missing overhead mobility, if you're missing spinal mobility, that's all gonna be highlighted, because if you're not moving in a certain way and you're not let's just say your ankle isn't moving a certain way, we need to address that so that when you're doing your program, your movements are clean, crisp, and everything's looking good. So from a mobility standpoint, that's also very important to be added to a training program.
Yeah, it's very important. I think it's very important.
And I'm pretty sure they don't do that in outpatient.
So, but like you said, you were more like on the niche focus for performance based,
right?
For physical therapy, and I think that's very important, and that's why we were talking about it today on the podcast.
Right.
So on the podcast, for every guest that's on the show, I like to do closing thoughts. Anything you want to tell our audience members or want to talk about before we head out on the podcast?
Yeah, sure. So I feel like I have a responsibility to just let anybody know. I'm going to touch on a few things. Just let anybody know. If there's a medical professional that told you you can't do something, or you'll never get to where you used to be again, that is a freaking crock of shit. I can tell you that 100%. I've treated enough people and I've worked with enough people where they didn't look at the full body. You really have to find someone who's going to take the time, and find someone who's good. You have to do the research. When a doctor gives you a script and says go somewhere, don't. I mean, obviously we all want to trust our doctors, right? I mean, I trust my doctor. I mean, luckily enough, I'm a medical professional, so when my doctor tells me, you should do this or do that, I know when it's funky. I know when it's fishy, but a lot of people don't. So when you get that script, do your homework, go to someone you trust. It doesn't even I don't even care. It doesn't have to be me. Right. But at the same time, when I was 17, when I was 21, and I was going to physical therapy, I wish someone would have told me that. On another note, I think the pandemic is something that is always on all of our minds. I did get the vaccine. Besides getting Wolverine claws, I feel 100% fine. The vaccine is absolutely safe, in my opinion. I had a friend text me a video, and it was some woman in her bedroom. She's like, I'm in a hospital right now, and they gave me the COVID vaccine, and I'm sick right now. And he was like,
how old is she? Do you know? Or
she was like in her. She looked like she was. She looked like she looked like she could be in like 43 or something.
Okay.
So then I was like, I'm not gonna. Well, yeah, Charles is common name. I was like, Charles, like, where'd you get this video? He's like, I got it off of YouTube. I was like, dude, she's not even in a hospital. She's in her bedroom. And so he's like, oh, true. And I was like, yeah. So I was like, you gotta like make sure you can't just like go down the rabbit hole. Like, I think we all are in this stage where we don't trust the government. Trust me, I'm the last person that's like, I'm the last person who wants to pay my taxes this year.
Right.
What did the government do this year?
Yeah, exactly.
But at the same time, if we're gonna get past this pandemic and we're all gonna want to get back to all of our lives, I was the first person to be skeptical about this vaccine. I was nervous.
Right.
I took it, but I was nervous. I was like, because all my friends are like, oh, you're gonna have a nano chip in you.
Right.
Oh, the government's got you mind controlled now. No, I feel completely fine. No one's controlling my mind. No nano chip, no tracking device. The only thing that might happen is whatever arm they inject you with might get sore.
Okay.
And
that's kind of like the flu shot. I remember getting flu shot and it was sore for like a day or two.
There you go.
Right.
There's obviously some other. Everybody's gonna react differently to it, right? I had like a you can't even say it's a fever. I usually run 97 degrees Fahrenheit on my temperature. I was running like 99 for like 4 hours, and then it went back down. And then I felt tired for like a few days. But then after that, like, I'm being completely transparent. But after that, I feel fine. Like, I feel good.
And off air, you told me that's one part of the vaccine, so you have to go back for another.
Yeah, you have to get it's one shot, and then it's different for Pfizer. Pfizer, you have to take it 21 days after. For Moderna, you got to take it a month after.
Okay.
And then and after the second shot, you wait 2 weeks. After 2 weeks, you're, again, like they said, the percentage, you're 95% less likely to get COVID. So I guess there's still that 5% chance. But at the same time, if everybody gets the vaccine, the faster we get past this. And there's no, like I said, like, I'm the first person to be question the government and
especially with how they handle the pandemic. So
right. I'm the first person to be like, yeah, I don't trust that, I don't trust this. But this is not one of those times. Like do not go on YouTube, do not send me videos of some lady in her bedroom saying she's in a hospital and she got COVID. You know what I mean? Like, so at the end of the day, like, I sent a message to my friend and I told him, yeah, man, I got the vaccine, I feel fine. He's like, word? I was like, yeah. He's like, all right. And that made him feel better, right? But we do have a responsibility, and seeing as I'm in that tier that first got it.
Yeah.
I feel like I do have a responsibility to tell people it's okay. Like I was nervous. I felt like I was a guinea pig.
Right.
To be honest.
Right.
I'm happy that I feel good, but
I'm happy too.
Yeah.
I'm happy too.
Yeah, I'm happy that it all worked out, right? But I can confidently say that it's all good.
All right. Well, you heard it from the doctor. It's all good. Go get vaccinated. At least
I ain't showing you my Wolverine claws. But,
at least you're hearing from people you can have some type of trust with, not some celebrities oh yeah, go get vaccinated because I got vaccinated, or stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just it's people that you can be close with and actually have a conversation with and trust, and okay.
Dude, if I got fucked up off of this shit, I'd be like, everybody, do not take this. I'd be like, everyone, stop. But no, it's fine. It's fine. Just like
good. All right. All right. Once they give it out, I'm gonna see what I can do and get vaccinated.
Right.
I'm trying to be over this. I'm tired of the pandemic.
Right. I'm like, yeah. It was just one of those things where everyone's like, oh, they probably paid you to go on this podcast. Like, no, this is for free.
It's free. This is totally free. I'm broke. All right. Like I spent all my money. Exactly. If anything, I need the sponsors to come to me. But give your social media outlet so people know where to find you.
So you can find me on Instagram at Dr. 𝘠𝑚𝑔𝑎MS, and no, it's not your grandma. It'll be me. But
spell it out just in case.
So 𝘫𝑗𝑎𝑚𝑠 Well, I just messed that up. So Doctor. So 𝘠𝑗𝑎𝑚𝑔𝑎MS. There you go.
All right, and you can find me at Prince Nigma, PRINCENIGMA, and that's our episode.
All right, my man.
Doctor himself. Thank you for coming. Hopefully this won't be our last episode, and until next time, peace.